Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I just finished watching the series finale of Gotham, and very, very, very disappointed. So I gotta say one thing: I started watching Gotham, in 2014 when it started, and I'm watching it on the Fox app on this phone, the last phone, I think three different phones over the last 4 or 5 years, and the Fox app is trash on every single application. It's actually why I dropped out of watching it because I have a crazy life. I'm always on the go. I watch a TV show at the gym or wait for a plane or on a plane. So I do everything on my app, and it gets so frustrating. Like this one, I got what was it? Like 29 minutes in, and then the app stopped working. I freaking rebooted my phone, force stop, log in, log out, and it's just the app is not working. A pop up. I was like, I can't explain the hundreds of problems I've had with the Fox app for watching their shows on your phone. So I ended up buying the episode just to watch the last 15 minutes. So anyway, Gotham is a kind of an interesting show because the very first episode and the very last episode of the entire series match perfectly, and they only match each other, and they don't match the rest of the series, which I freaking love, even though I dropped out because of tech. Basically, my plan was to watch it on Netflix, but then when I heard that season 5 was only half a season, I was like, well, I'll just wait until season 4 and 5 are on there, and then I'll just finish the whole thing. So I remember when Gotham came out, I remember two things, or it was announced. Two things. Number one, I was really, really bothered because, I like Smallville, but Smallville started when Clark was like, I don't know, like 15 or something like this. But this was starting when Bruce was, I think, like 11 or 12. I think 11. So it's like, what? We're going to like slowly watch him go through high school and then he doesn't even become Batman for like 15 more years? What's the point? And then the other thing is, before it was coming out, everyone's like, we want it to be like The Wire. We want it to be like The Wire. Well, there's already a show like The Wire. It's called The Wire. And I was never really into it. So I was like, you got a Gotham show without Batman. Batman's a kid. What's he going to do? We're going to take him to a karate class at the YMCA? And the first episode I just thought sucked. The first episode was so written by committee. It was so check in the box. It was so like, we're going to introduce Catwoman, but she's a girl. So let's make sure and call her Cat. And then she's going to pose like a cat on top of a wall. Like, do you get it? She's going to be Catwoman. Like, I think literally the first thing Edward Nigma say was, do you like riddles? Or like, do you want to hear a riddle? And then Harvey Bullock was like, no more riddles there. Edward Nigma, you're such a riddler. Like, it was like freaking so on the nose with everything. And I just hated it. I remember at one point, like, it was Poison Ivy's father was running away. And it's Poison Ivy, and she's like 6. So you're like, what the hell? This is like Batman babies. But one of the things that was great from the beginning was Harvey Bullock and James Gordon. These were perfectly cast, and they had instant chemistry, rapport. They were excellent. But there was a point where like they go to catch. They think Poison Ivy's dad killed the Waynes, and then he's an ex-con. He sees the cops come. He pulls a gun. He shoots at him. He runs away shooting at him. I believe at one point he's about to either shoot Gordon or bash his brains in. And then Harvey Bullock shoots him. And then later on, they find out that he didn't kill the Waynes. So Gordon's all like filled with guilt. He's like, we almost killed an innocent man. It's like ex-con, illegally had multiple pistols, seemed to be still making his money from crime. Tried to kill 2 cops who were just executing it was either exigent circumstances. That's when you don't have a warrant, but you can say, oh, I hear this happening or whatever, and you just get to kick the door down. But he knew they were cops. So I was like, what the hell? And then I watched the second one, because whatever, it's a Gotham show. I wanted to see if it was as bad. And the second one onward was fantastic. It's like they had to do the first one for the studio execs who were very like super normie. They were like, we need to have Catwoman, and you need to, if she's not the Catwoman, costume, you need to say she looks like a cat so people can understand. How about you call her cat? You're like, oh, jeez. And the Riddler, we know he's not the Riddler, so he needs to say he likes riddles. And then the other person has to point out that he really likes riddles. But like from the second one, which I think is the one where this balloon guy is like touches people's wrists to balloons and he kills them by like making them go up to the atmosphere. It was just like crazy. It was one of the most imaginative, crazy shows I've ever seen on network TV. They just did whatever the hell they wanted, and I absolutely loved it. It became my favorite show, except for, I move around a lot, and my life's kind of crazy. So I dipped out like about a year or so ago, but it was always a show. If I was traveling and if I was in a hotel and they were showing it, I would like rearrange, my day, or, I got to see it. And I was always, the Fox app. Oh, and then you could see it the next day. And I was so excited and I just loved it. They introduced so many crazy characters. They had Fish Mooney. They had Butch. One of the things they would do is, one of the things I love, there's a couple things I absolutely loved about the show. Number one, you never knew if a storyline was going to go for half of an episode or 5. Sometimes they would introduce the craziest stuff and then resolve it like 20 minutes later. And sometimes they would thread it in and out. Now, the other thing I loved it was not young Bruce Wayne. In fact, there were large parts of multiple seasons where Bruce was either not in barely any of the episode or not even in the episode. It was, a Gordon show, but it was an ensemble piece. That being said, Gordon is one of my favorite TV tough guy cops. Maybe the favorite. The Ben, whatever his name, just did such a fantastic job from the beginning. And Bullock was great. They brought in Lee Tompkins. They had, one of the great things about it is, for TV, and it varies, but a lot of the shows, especially like the genre shows like Smallville and, anything sci-fi or superhero, they tend to be shot in Canada because it's cheaper. Which is, cool, but one of the great things about Gotham is that it was shot in and around New York City. So you were getting fantastic, mainly theater actors. Fantastic actors for like every single part. I remember one of the earliest episodes I noticed it. It was a random dirty cop who gets, a balloon tied to his wrist and he goes up in the air. And he had like, 10 lines. And it was just one of the most amazing performances on TV at the time. And I was like, wow, everyone, like a reporter that has 2 lines will be done by a really, really good theater actress. So I just really loved it. One of the things, like I said, they would go so crazy. Probably the thing, it was pretty popular, I think, the first 2 seasons. And then the ratings started to go down. And it's an expensive show. One of the other really, really weird things about the show is it would have these insane, like 2 or 3 month hiatuses. It would stop around Christmas time and come back sometime in February. So it never really felt like any season was a season. It actually felt like every year, from September to May was 2 seasons. And they would even give them little, kind of like taglines. I think one was Rise of the Villains or something like that. But man, it was just the actor who plays Sarek in Discovery. This is where I first saw him, and he played, I think, like a 2nd or 3rd season bad guy. But one of the things they would do is they would get an actor. There was this guy named Butch Gilzine, or the character. And honestly, he did not, when he was introduced, he didn't seem like he was going to be anything than, just a minor character. But he had a great look, he had a great style, and they did everything. They even turned him into frickin' Solomon Grundy. Like, it was hilarious. That being said, one of the things that kind of did it in early, besides the budget and the very long hiatuses, was after a while, it became really hard to follow because everyone had been good guys and bad guys and arrested and in jail and pardoned. And then they were the mayor, and then there was a chief of police, and then they're on the run, and then there's a twin, and then there's a clone. And like, I think I'm going to binge it again from the beginning, and I'm going to notice a lot of stuff I didn't notice. But standout performances, again, Gordon was great. The Alfred, fantastic. The kid who played Bruce was really really good until, oh, I'm reviewing the series and not the finale. So the finale, I haven't watched season 5, but they do a time jump of 10 years in the last episode, which is really really basic. Seemed to have been written by committee. Bruce Wayne left Gotham, and then he came back 10 years later, and everything is the same. Lee and Gordon are still together. Gordon and they introduced a female partner to him, I believe, in season 3 or 4. She's still there. Like, the mayor is still the mayor 10 years later. And the thing that's so annoying is they kept saying, "Oh, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years." They didn't even bother to put like a little gray in anyone's hair. Everyone except for Penguin, who gets a little very unconvincing potbelly because the actor's still skinny. They don't bother and put him in a fat suit or anything. They're wrapping it up. Bruce is coming back to the city. He's going to be Batman. He barely does anything Batman. He investigates something. They show his cape wrestling a few times. He eventually meets like the 3rd or 4th version of the Joker. I forget the actor's name, but he's done great. He did Jeremiah Valeska. He's done like 2 or 3 different versions of the Joker, kind of like a proto-Joker. They did a lot of proto-characters. They didn't have Harley Quinn. Her name was Echo. And they didn't have Joker. It was Jeremiah Valeska and his twin. I forget his twin's name. They had I believe they even had Harvey Dent. That was a really intense storyline. It was like this 50 Shades of Grey. Was that Harvey Dent? Was it? I think it was. That one. I might be confusing him with a serial killer character who looked kind of like that. But I mean, it got freaking intense. One of the things about this show is it really did Gotham City, except for the first and last episodes of the show, really, really well. Like, this is a place where people just got murked. Like, life was cheap. I remember one time it was like, Bruce and Selena, they were kind of into this adventure, and it was like, kids against gangsters. And then all of a sudden at one point, I believe Selena just grabs this old friend of Alfred who had betrayed him, and she just flips him out of a freaking window, like a 5th floor window. He falls 5 stories and then he just dies, and Bruce is all shocked, and she's like, and Selena was like, "This is Gotham City. Stuff like this happens all the time." I remember I think this is season 1 or 2, Alfred slaps Selena really hard in the face. I was like, how did that even, like, this show kind of seemed like it was not checked by anyone. It just kind of went out. They would do the craziest stuff. They would have, little girls get slapped, little girls murder, 50-year-old men. Good guys become bad guys become good guys. Everyone has a clone. Everyone goes insane. People come out of jail and they become mayor. It was a complete, I would say the performance, although he gets absolutely, nobody gets respect in the final episodes. Besides, oh gosh, there's like a bomb plot and a kidnap the mayor plot, and like they're almost like making fun of how lame it is. At one point, Barbara Kyle, the Riddler's like, "I'm gonna kidnap him and do a riddle," and then Catwoman just hits him in the back of the head. They're like, "Nobody, okay, just stop." Like, this at first, this looked like it was leading to the Chris Nolan Batman films, but at the end, especially when you see the way Riddler and Penguin are, it looks like it leads up to the Adam West TV show. It's just, oh gosh. And then they show the kid. He's in the Batman suit. I think he's like 17. He's still like all skinny, and it looks like trash. It's just really, really embarrassing. The last episode of Smallville, they showed the suit, but they never showed him in the suit. But then they did like this little 3D animated model of like a teeny tiny Superman flying. And I think it was because Tom Welling was like not in the best shape towards the later seasons. He was getting a little doughy, and he was like 35 or something like that. So he's like middle-aged, starting his career as Superman. It reminds me of that Robin Hood movie with what's his name? The Australian guy. And it was the origin of Robin Hood, but Robin Hood was like 48. But the standout for the entire series was the Penguin. This actor was so good, and he brought so much depth to it, and he brought depth to it. This is not just one of the best villains in like a superhero TV show. This is one of the richest characters I've ever seen in any TV show. And I remember like a year, 2 years ago when I did a review of it on my other channel, I said this could easily just go into being a Penguin show. He has enough to carry his own show, absolutely. So anyway, I've been rambling again. Very, very disappointed in the finale. It's just kind of, it doesn't even feel like the people who made the rest of the series made this one. It seems like they got one of those generic, doctor or lawyer shows from CBS, and they fired everyone, behind the camera, and they said, yeah, we got these actors, we recast Selena with an adult. And then the kid who plays Bruce, I don't think he's in this. Like, they show his hand in a glove. They show him in the costume at the very end. Oh, God, the way they introduce Batman is so stupid. Like, so Proto Joker is doing this really, really half-assed. Like, even he seems to be half-assing like a hostage situation. And then Batman just shows up and throws 3 or 4 batarangs, and that's it. Bruce was able to fight that well when he was like 15. Like, that's all he did to get a really, really cheap-looking Batman suit. There's another scene where like Riddler and Penguin have already been caught by Batman, and they've been left hanging from a light pole in the street, and they're like kicking each other. Like, again, it's silly. It's like something out of Super Friends. And then they escape like in the easiest, silliest way possible. And then they like run around the corner. They're like, we're gonna get Batman. And then they go, oh my gosh, and they look up and they see him. And just by coincidence, he was jumping across the street. But you don't understand. Not just jumping across the street. He's jumping from 2 buildings that are like freaking 50 stories high. Like, it doesn't even make sense they would even look up at that exact point in the Gotham skyline. And then there's another point where they set up the bat signal, but it doesn't have a bat on it. He's just like, I have a feeling we're gonna need this. I mean, literally, Batman just came back that day. So then Harvey Bullock goes, whoa, and he's like, sees him, and then they do this pan in, and again, Batman is so they're on the top of like a 10-story building. Batman is like 3 blocks over on the top of a 50-story building. He is so tiny. Like, no one ever would have seen him. Besides, you just assumed it was like some, janitor or something like that, like just taking a smoke break. Like, you would not, that must be Batman. But yeah, just really, really weak ending to a show that I absolutely love. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I think, what am I going to do next? I think I'm going to do that finale of Voyager, the 2-parter next. Thanks for watching. Bye.